I heard a noise, it was my cat. After Zhang left, I managed to hail a cab, but quickly hopping inside. I really hope I'm saying that right. I think I looked it up in my Heath playthrough, but I hope I'm saying that right. Or at least in the realm. I decided to travel somewhere. Visit Saturnalia. Again, I'm not going to talk to Heath. I headed for Saturnalia, wondering if Heath would be around. I don't think he's around tonight, actually. If I remember correctly, I think this is one of the nights where he's not there. But when I glanced around for Heath, I didn't spot him anywhere. Maybe he'd stepped out for a while. There we go. Chat with patrons. I began to roam around the bar and drift into conversations, mingling with the various vampire patrons. Tonight's crowd seemed to be mostly Golgotha, and they treated me with a mixture of interest and suspicion whenever I approached. I decided to... What will make them like me? I don't need to do this, but I'm just wondering. Night 2, Mavar rep. Oh, Randall route only. Oh no, wait. Golgotha rep. Talk to the patrons, do my best to charm them. This only gets a small increase, okay. Mustering, I'm just getting practice in. Mustering all of my charisma, I wandered up to the various groups of Golgotha, hoping to win them over. They seemed suspicious of my intentions at first, but eventually some of the vampires warmed up to me, offering their unusual insights. Because I was also part of their house, the Golgotha thawed more easily, and a few even doted on me like I was a lost lamb. And honestly, that sumo wrestler was amazing. It was like biting into a mochi or pizza dough or something, so soft and squishy. That's disgusting, Paulson. You need professional help. As I drifted by the last group of Golgotha in the corner, I heard them engaged in a passionate argument. Hey, you with the red hair. They acknowledged my hair color. That's crazy. One of them suddenly raised her voice, snapping her fingers and pointing at me. You're gonna be the tiebreaker, okay? Quick, what's the best body type to feed from? Right, I need to reply. Fat, lithe, or muscular suggestions get a small goal increase. Okay. So any of these will do. Actually I like the muscular types because the veins really pop. Ew. Hey, she's not wrong. Maybe I should feed my pet some steroids, get him well, I didn't say that. Maybe I should feed my pet some steroids, get him juiced up so I can see all the sweet juice canals. That is nasty. I didn't want him to start giving someone steroids. It's fucking nasty, like having a see-through cow or something. They started grumbling at each other again, apparently forgetting my existence. I want to see my stats. That did get it up a little, actually. That did. And with that, I had more or less passed by every group that seemed interesting in tonight's flock of patrons. Yes, leave. Should I go see... Marcus? I don't know if there's much point. There's not really much point in seeing them. I'm gonna save it. There's not really much point in seeing him on these nights because it's just asking questions. But we'll see. We'll see if he has anything to say. Anything to say for himself. I decided to stop by Bud and Roses to check if Marcus was around. He probably had some interesting insights to offer as usual. We'll see about that. It's always a different scene when you come in. I found Marcus in front of a... You know what? I will be right back. How do I get out of this again? Sorry, I needed to use the ladies' room. I meant to do it. In between. Right, I found Marcus in front of the large floor mannequin shuffling his feet in some kind of strange movement. When I stepped closer, he came to a stop, swiveling around to face me. Ah, Valkii. It seems you caught me practicing the salsa with my partner, my evening exercise. I didn't know you were a dancer. The term may be a slight exaggeration, but I do enjoy it. After a few long years, I managed to progress beyond the worm. Well, is there anything I can do for you, sister? My ears are at your disposal. Okay, we can talk to him about some other things. Things I haven't even picked before. Let me see. You and, see? These are new. These are new. These are new. Okay, cool. I have a question about you. What do you think of vampires in pop culture? They baffle me. Why would anyone believe that a centuries-old creature could be deceived so easily by humans, or even operates on normal human logic? What do you mean? They are indeed such foolish vampires, but they aren't the norm by any means. If they were, why, we'd be a dying race instead of a dead one. Marcus sounded slightly miffed, adjusting his sunglasses with a bemused sigh. How did you know my name, even though I wasn't supposed to be turned? Because sooner or later, I learned the name of everyone in Hollywood. Somebody said it, but I couldn't tell you who. Marcus gave me a simple shrug, like that was all he had to say on the matter. Have you turned other vampires before? Oh, many. Until the fairly recent past, I turned most anybody who asked me. I firmly believe every soul cognizant of itself must take responsibility for its own actions. If one knows all the conditions of vampirism, yet still wishes to be turned, I saw it as my role to fulfill that wish. What made you stop doing it? There was one powerful, clawing reason that I could no longer ignore. I was getting too many postcards from my progeny. I guess that's as good a reason as any. I'm happy you agree. I certainly have no moral hang-ups about turning individuals who plead for it. Not only are their mistakes none of my affair, but beyond those concerns. If one desires self-destruction, even secretly, then sooner or later it will always surface. It's kind of true, honestly. His smile seemed a little darker than normal. Where did you pick up your accent? I saw it shining on the street, grabbed it, dusted it off, and placed it on my head. Sometimes you're never quite sure where your strangest parts come from, but you embrace them nonetheless. More often than not, they're the best parts. Oh my god, there's so much more that's appeared. Was this just on another page? Could you tell me a story from when you were human? Well, if you were expecting any grand, tumultuous, I hate this word, tumultuous, it's not how you say it, a tragic and dramatic backstory from me, I fear I may have to disappoint you. I endured only average struggles, and so suffering was something I had to seek out myself. Though Marcus didn't sound bitter or reluctant, I could hear a brief strain in his voice. What I experienced for the longest was isolation, never voicing my thoughts to anybody, never receiving confirmation that I was sane or even real. It was so very, very lonely, like standing on an ice-cold mountaintop. Eventually, I learned to enjoy my own company as much as anyone else's, perhaps most of all. The quiet ricochet of my thoughts filled that chilling void. By the time I left the mountain, I realized something important. I would never need anyone else to be whole. Having a companion appeals to me greatly, of course, but if I were doomed to wander alone for the rest of my existence, passing ephemerally through the ages, I would accept such a fate. He gazed into the distance for several long moments, and any number of thoughts could have been shifting behind his unfocused eyes. That wasn't much of a story, I'm afraid. Oh well. You should know by now that you'll only get stories when you don't ask for them, Valkii. Let's move on. You know, I feel like you contradict yourself sometimes. Oh, indeed, I am a dreadful hypocrite, and a man of many contradictions. But so are we all. Marcus let out a smug chuckle, but he didn't seem to be entirely teasing. I suppose it's the same reason why I have such a love for metaphors. They involve the listener, making them think, interpret, insert themselves in an idea. Like art, it doesn't matter how truthful or consistent it is, as long as the observer draws out some kind of value. A mere statement of facts, why, that simply doesn't allow any room for imagination. This is a weird one, but okay. Have you had many lovers in the past? A modest amount, but I was always far more in love with my idea of them than the true individuals themselves. They've blown from my mind like leaves in the wind. Now all I need is my right hand and 10 minutes alone with some specific pay-per-view channels. What's the point? I don't think there's any point in that. From what I gathered with Heath, it doesn't... it's not a sexy affair. I don't know. That reminds me, I need a new TV guide. Is there any reason you live in Hollywood? Oh, many. I enjoy solitude, but I also possess a need to know that humanity is nearby. That's why I so adore this city. Wherever you are, both the glimmer and filth of mankind are always close. I find the urban symphony of police sirens, car alarms, and drone-in traffic comforting as I fall asleep. Sirens especially. No better lullaby than the answer to another person's frantic misery. As for the other reasons, well, I'm here for you, obviously. Take that however you wish. Okay. About someone else. You and Alusha. Why, she's the flame of danger, a strong and shameless pursuit of life's pleasures. She needs nobody, for she is her own reaffirmation above all else. I have far more respect for Alusha than I do most others, both vampire and humankind. Alright. She was pretty cool. What you said at the beach. Yes, I said many things. As I said, I believed it was the right moment to stir the pot. Of course, it was no fearless decision. From the moment I opened my mouth, I thought to myself, I'd better not say this is too far. But if I didn't speak my mind, who would? I regret none of it, not a single word. What did you mean with the statement on equality? No matter what delusions we'd like to harbour, not all mortals nor vampires are created equal. Sex, race, gender, none of that factors into play. There are simply weak creatures who will wither even when given every chance to succeed, and powerful ones who can't be kept down in the most dire of upbringings. Sex, race, gender, none of that factors into play. It does factor into play, though. But okay. But that's how it should be. If everyone were utterly equal, there would be no great beings. There would be no admirable souls, for all would be admirable. And admirable wouldn't exist because it would just be the new normal. I believe in no discrimination save for one, the will to fulfill oneself. For as nature proves, the meek will inherit nothing at all. Alright, well, I gotta go. See ya. Very well. We'll see each other again soon, I'm sure. Is that what you're gonna say to me every time I leave your sex shop? Leaving Markus's shop, I return to the streets. Sure, let's just go. I don't think we can talk to the Mavar this time, but we can go. I had my driver take me to Santa Monica, deciding to stop by Randall's place. It looked like there was a different mix of vampires around here tonight. I didn't see a lot of the same Mavar from the party, but this time I saw some aggressive-looking vampires lurking in the corners, glaring in my general direction. Had Markus's speech caused this shift? It seemed likely, considering how much infighting he'd sparked with just a few words. There was no sign of Randall tonight, though. Tried to chat with the Mavar. Be my friend. I shifted towards one of the groups, trying to find an opening in the conversation. They didn't seem to notice me at all, though, and I found myself standing somewhat awkwardly in the corner. Ah yes, this is the reporter moment. Hi there, could I speak to you for a moment? Just then, a soft, pleasant voice called out behind me. I turned to see a short girl studying me with a curious look, her eyes keenly peering into my face. Ah, I was right. You're Valkii, aren't you? How can I help you, miss? My name's Evelyn Marlowe. I'm a journalist doing a report on the conditions here. I heard you were the intriguing new face in town, so I was wondering if I could ask you a couple of questions. Shouldn't take too long, I'd think. Would that be alright? Sure, why not? Great! She twirled a pencil in her left hand, her eyes keenly watching my face. I don't think this affects anything. Okay, I think I'll be good when I'm trying to get other endings. Okay, I'm not actually a member of LA's Coven, you see, although I am a Mavar. I come from London, where I'm something of an activist, and I'm visiting to research the conditions in this city. From the way Evelyn wrinkled her nose at conditions, I could tell she didn't find them too appealing. Since you're more of a newcomer to LA and our lifestyle, I thought you'd have some interesting thoughts to share. Let's see here. She thoughtfully plucked at the front of her loose shirt with one hand, fiddling with a small notebook in the other. It seems Randall and his clan are mostly in favor of total anarchy. No plans for a new system of government if they overthrow Charisse. What are your thoughts on a chaotic situation like that, Valkii? It's pretty short-sighted. This is all like the same. Pretty short-sighted. Peace won't last long without... I can't remember what that said. Evelyn nodded, grimacing faintly. History's made that very clear, but most of the vampires here seem to be rather young, caught up in their own little self-centered worlds. Her voice sank for a moment, but she quickly cleared her throat, refocusing her gaze on my face. There's another concerning subject I wanted to ask about too. You're aware of Randall's view on our relationship with humans, right? He doesn't encourage killing or harming them, but he also doesn't want to make any rules that prohibit those things. Do you have any opinion on how humans should be treated, Valkii? I do think we need rules to protect humans from our kind. That makes me happy to hear. So few vampires in this city have any sense of duty to humanity left. If I'm not wrong, Charisse has some laws against hurting humans, but a lot of her other policies seem unpopular. What are your thoughts on her? I do agree with some of what she says, but I don't agree with all of it. She seems to care more about mortals than the other two leaders, that's for sure. She let out a sigh, something between a faint smile and a grimace crossing her lips. You seem to have a pretty strong opinion on these things yourself, Evelyn. I do. Like I said, I'm an activist in London, but I don't concern myself with our coven. I don't care much at all about vampire society. It's just a mess of parasites trying to one-up each other, leeching off humanity whenever they can. I'm much more concerned with human society, helping them improve themselves and keeping vampires from meddling where they don't belong. She sounded quite determined, a fiery spark flashing in her eyes as she spoke. Well, that's all I wanted to ask you, Valkii. But if you're ever around in London, you should come find me and my group. Reaching into her pocket, Evelyn pulled out a small pamphlet, offering it out to me. Along with our little news circulation, we also tried to help less fortunate humans in the city and all over the world. My number's on there, so once this city's kerfuffle dies down, give me a ring if you're interested in helping out. I will, Evelyn, thanks. Welcome. I hope to hear from you soon. We could use more bright new minds. With that, Evelyn turned away, fiddling with her notebook as she approached a different vampire. Alright. Leave. That's the end for tonight, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Slipping out of the beach house, I made my way back across the sand. Time had passed quickly and the night was almost over. I had time to head back. God, I'm getting like out of breath from talking so much and my chest and throat hurt. It had been a fairly quiet night, at least in contrast to my earlier adventures. Let me grab this back up. Okay. Though I had a feeling the reprieve wouldn't last. Alright, back at the hotel. When I returned to the hotel, I expected Charisse to be in the meeting room like before. Instead, the clerk at the front desk handed me a note when I walked in. Apparently, Charisse was out of town again. Fair. I settled down on my bed and pulled the note out of its pristine envelope, scanning over it. Valkii. I received a call from Miss Alusha earlier. Excellent work. Enclosed as a token of my gratitude, expressed in dead presidents. Don't spend it all in one place. I turned the envelope upside down and out fell a bundle of bills. A shockingly large amount of money, too. Your next task will be ready soon. Keep up the admirable performance and one day you might end up as my right-hand woman. As a final word of warning, there has been another murder. The mutilation was identical to the body you found in the sewers, except instead of an Ascari agent, the victim was a Golgotha. Be on your toes, Valkii. We do not know where they will strike next. I look forward to our next meeting, Charisse. Well, at least I hadn't immediately been thrown another errand, which meant I had some time to do as I pleased. Maybe Marcus would pay me a visit tomorrow, or else I could explore that invitation I'd gotten from Zhang. Did that go up a little bit? I can't tell. The more I thought about it, the more curiosity and caution pulled me in opposite directions. Like an asteroid drawn towards a planet, I felt compelled to meet him, but my dream made me wary. Whatever he was, I had a feeling he knew many, many things. Click. It's so satisfying for some reason. With those last uncertain thoughts circling my mind, I let sleep take me for another night. Where is this? The cold crawled over my skin. An icy wind brushed past, like something out of a frozen wasteland instead of California. I shuddered, curling my arms around myself reflexively. How long had I been waiting? It felt like days, even weeks. Maybe even my whole life. What are you talking about, me? I drifted further into the sky, pulled along by some unseen force. My feet dangled in empty air, but I wasn't falling. Far, far below me, the city flickered endlessly, frigid and beautiful as a snow globe. But I'd never seen anything like this before. So small and fragile. It always looks this way. A voice resonated in my ears. Why are we flying, Marcus? Beside me, Marcus gazed wistfully into the distance down at the veiled city. This is where we stand, remote yet tethered, unable to descend or escape. This is a hell of our own making. His words had lost their accent and instead seemed to echo in my mind, in my own voice. It's so lonely, isn't it? He stiffly nodded, although his smile didn't seem self-pitying. One grows used to it, the deathly silence of no deities, no herd, no self. Still, on some cold nights, the solitude becomes too much to bear. Another frozen gust of wind blew past us, ruffling through Marcus's hair. But after one steps back onto the streets, breathing in the filth, drowning in the lingering shadow of a long-dead god, loneliness no longer seems so terrible after all. With a deep, long inhale, he slowly turned to face me. No lenses obscured his face, and he seemed much more vulnerable, or maybe like an entirely different person. Different, yet unnervingly similar, like the second side of a coin. If I could explain all of this more clearly to you, Valkii, I would do so. But the subconscious has no language. You must try to understand it with your own subconscious without words or logic. A hint of frustration furrowed Markus's brow. Don't force yourself to think, for thinking always comes in words. And thinking is meant to communicate, not to understand. How can I not think? If I say, I already understand, he's going to be like, no, you don't, and backhand me. How indeed? He grimaced in what looked like sympathy, hesitating briefly. I want you to imagine something, Valkii. Long, long ago, you created the entire universe simply out of boredom, or maybe curiosity. You created yourself, then buried your own divinity so you could experience your creation firsthand. Everything then has a meaning you created for yourself for this exact moment, for a purpose. With one hand, Markus gestures around us in a circle, as if Los Angeles symbolized the entire universe. Perhaps you didn't create it, but you might have. We all might have. With that belief in ourselves, we may all become gods of our own existences, and everything may be sublime. Markus slowly reached his arms out to me. His cold palms pressed to my temples, and I had nowhere to look except his unblinking eyes. If only I could keep you in this place with me forever, Valkii, but I cannot. I can throw you a rope, but you'll have to climb back here through your own will. I'll find a way back soon. I know you can. But will you? It looked as if he almost wanted to laugh, like he found an innocent, nonsensical humor in all this. Not a cruel laugh, but a carefree one. There is one thing I can show you. One thing you may have already seen for yourself. Long bony fingers slipped between my own, grasping them loosely. Then with his free hand, Markus pointed to the distant streets below us, then up to the infinite sky. Which way would you like to go? There is no right or wrong answer. Let's go higher. Markus nodded. If he wanted or expected a different answer, he showed no sign of it. He said there was no wrong answer, so I want to go higher. Let's see the stars from below. Higher up, the city started to look more abstract. In a sea of pure black, dots of golden light roamed on straight paths, flickering in and out of existence. It felt like I was in space, like an alien looking down at tiny insects. Soon, even those dots disappeared. All I had left was a silent void. Until the voice called out. It was someone else's voice. They don't deserve it. They don't want it. A voice that sounded strangely familiar. And the sound of countless buzzing flies. Every day I look around me, and every day I'm disgusted by what I see. But when I look in the mirror, what I see there disgusts me more than anything else. I am the destroyer that you want so badly, and you will take responsibility for making me. Is that who I think it is? I blinked. In my hands, the cup felt warm, giving off steam and a sweet, gentle fragrance. The bar seemed entirely empty. There was probably some kind of event going on, but I wasn't invited, or I didn't want to go. Have you ever lucid dreamed? Hey, Markus. Markus grinned at me from across the table. His words still seemed to be entering my mind directly, lacking their usual accent or inflection. It's such a peculiar feeling, really. Like being God in your own headspace, where anything you will becomes reality. Or maybe it's like being a powerless God trapped in a world of limitless potential. This tea is really good. It is, isn't it? He took a sip from his own cup, exhaling a contented sigh. Strange how delicious something can be after you've forgotten its taste. Nothing sweeter than a distant memory. Unlike earlier, Markus sounded much more light-hearted, his telepathic voice, my own, ringing with playfulness. It echoed in my ears beside the soft, muted trip-hop playing over the bar's loudspeakers. I wonder, what would it be like to always live inside a lucid dream? With a soft sigh, he gazed thoughtfully at me from across the booth. Are we on a date, by the way? I was thinking more of an interlude, a little break from all this heavy symbolism. He smirked dryly, folding a paper napkin in his hands. But I suppose it could be a date. Do you want it to be? That'd be nice, yes. Alright. I'm not going to make you pay the bill, but I'm not going to pay either. There isn't a soul here to cash my $50 to anyway. I turned my head to follow his gaze towards the empty bar. There was something bittersweet and nostalgic about it, like a painting frozen in time. But when I turned back around... Oh god. Blah! I'm blind! All that stood before me was empty bloody whiteness that I can't see. An inescapable, blinding whiteness. I'm kind of sat in a very dark room. This is not good. Like a spotlight shining right into my eyes. Oh, and then his TV static. What is this? Why am I here? A strange voice echoed around me. I couldn't recognize or fully distinguish it, like I was listening to a radio station filled with too much static. Oh, I do know who this is. Well, if I had to hazard a guess, it seems a thread still connects you to Valkii. Who is that, Marcus? Someone you'll colour in soon enough. Is that... Are you really her? The figure seemed to be staring at me, although there weren't any features on its silhouette. The one and only, or should I say, the many. But maybe we should head to a familiar place for all of us. I know where we're going. He opened the door for me, and I found myself stepping inside. Oh no, I don't know where we're going, okay. Is this a familiar place for all of us? Into the club, right next to the bar. I was back where it all started. This is gonna be really interesting. This is interesting. You know what? This is interesting. I'm sorry, I don't know why I do this. Wait and see what happens. I knew I couldn't run away. Everything had already happened before. But what if something was different this time? I stood at the bar, watching all the faceless bodies dance and shudder to silent music. My eyes fell to the bitter drink in my hand, which was only missing a single sip. And then, when I forced my gaze back up, Valkii. The next moment, I found myself walking towards the bathrooms. A hand had slipped into mine, leading me along. But something was different. Oh, my back pressed against the wall and long fingers pulled at my hair. These memories belong to you, Valkii, not me. The cold touch of Marcus's fangs grazed my throat, light and delicate. The first trinity may be the three of us you've met. But the more important one is you, me, and him. As those low words rumbled in his throat, my eyes squeezed shut of their own accord. The next moment, I felt... Oh. Can I get 2 CGs here? I wonder. I'll probably go to this one, but his fangs sinking into my neck. Can I get it? Oh, I do get it. I'll go back and do the kiss one. An agonizing pain ripped through me, searing into my neck, spreading through my whole body. It was the most horrible thing I'd ever felt. Tears welled in my eyes and the back of my throat tightened and burned. But soon enough, as a dull pleasure began to overwhelm the pain, I could feel Marcus shuddering against me, squirming as if trying to free himself. Oh, I'm sorry, that's horrible. Still, his fangs stayed deep in my neck, and each twist caused a fresh bolt of pain to run through me. It happened again and again and again, until finally we broke apart. I just want to see if he says anything about it, but I will go back to the other one. Yeah, okay, he's not going to say anything. Or maybe he would. I just don't know it. Oh my god, I just realized I've oversaved everything to do with Heath. His lips pressed over mine. Instead of the sharp pain that I'd been expecting, something cold and dry covered my mouth. Yes, a new CG. This is what I was hoping for. Marcus had lowered his head, leaning in for a sudden kiss. It was clumsy, rough, uncertain, and any moment I thought he'd pull away. I'm just gonna go ahead and save again, honestly, over this one. Stay still, lightly returning the kiss. I barely moved, only tilting my head enough to make the kiss a little easier. In response, I felt Marcus relax slightly. His grip loosened in my hair, fingers shifting from an anxious grasp to a slow, gentle caress. Let's just take things slow. Take things slow. Each kiss was oddly stiff, as wary and tense as a feral animal approaching a human. From the way Marcus was acting, it almost seemed more terrifying to him than spreading his own ribcage for an open-heart surgery. But he didn't draw back. Slowly, steadily, he let the tip of his tongue trace against mine, and for a split second I felt his body shudder. In disgust, or... Because nothing is as it seems. Nothing is sexy. Nothing is anything like that, so don't expect any of that. Everyone has their own issues with intimacy in this game. The abattoir vanished. I felt something pulling me away out of the cold darkness and into the light. But when my eyes finally struggled open, I saw Los Angeles laid out before me again. I was back where I started, stranded on a rooftop, stuck between the empty sky and the city. Where I end, Valkii, you begin. When I turned to look for the voice, I realized it was coming from my own mouth. I was Marcus, and Marcus was me, and there was nothing separating us. It had always been that way. It was always supposed to be that way. I just never saw it. Close your eyes again. For now. As my vision blurred and the world began to slowly melt into something different, somewhere far in the distance I heard the muffled echo of gunshots. They rumbled and crackled like fireworks, dull but insistent, reaching me from all directions. The endless booming filled my ears, dragging on for whole eternities. And the world faded into nothingness. I bolted upright. My bed, my room, everything looked normal. Valkii! I heard a soft gasp beside me, unexpected enough to make me jolt. Teeth? Damn it! What? I'll see you in the next one. I'll see you in the next one.